Our top story this hour, Damascus airport has reopened after an Israeli missile attack which killed at least 2 Syrian soldiers and damaged runways. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, that's a UK-based monitoring group, reported that the Israeli raid hit the airport as well as a nearby arms depot. There's been no comment from the Israeli government, but previous Israel rocket raids have been on Hezbollah bases whose fighters support Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's forces. Well, our chief correspondent, John Cookson, joins us now from London. John, good to see you. Happy New Year. Now, what more do we know about this attack?
Happy New Year to you as well. Great to be on Newsday as always. Well, the attack happened at 11 p.m. last night, Nigeria and UK time. The airport reopened again this morning at 6 a.m. So it seems that damage to the actual international airport section of this big complex at Damascus wasn't so badly damaged. Rockets rained down on the runways, apparently, and also in a cargo terminal thought to be a base for Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed militia group, which is based in Lebanon. It's not the first time the airport has been attacked by the Israelis. The last time was in June last year, and there was a similar attack at Aleppo airport in normal times, Syria's commercial capital, in September. These are images from the bombing last night. They're not great, but it's the best that we've been able to get from social media. So it seems that a number of rockets rained down on the airport last night, but with typical Middle Eastern pizzazz, the planes seem to be flying normally today to the UAE and Iraq, and passengers are getting away. I haven't seen arrivals yet at the airport, but certainly the international section of the airport seems to be operating much as normal at the moment.
Now, John, this raid comes just 4 days after a new right-wing Israeli government was sworn in. Is there any connection there?
Absolutely, there's a connection. Yes, you're right. A right-wing government, the farthest right in Israeli history, arguably. Benjamin Netanyahu's party, Likud, and the Zionist party won 64 of the 120 seats in the Israeli parliament, the Knesset. And Netanyahu immediately said that there'd be a policy of expanding settlements in the West Bank, which is bound to be a flashpoint in the future. We've also had the head of the armed forces, Oded Basiuk, saying that there'll be no Hezbollah 2.0 established in Syria. This referencing, of course, I'm sure, to the attacks that we've seen last night. It seems that the Hezbollah received some kind of, in quotes, sophisticated military equipment from Iran, and this has caused the Israelis much concern. Now, we don't know what the sophisticated equipment was. Iran famously making drones now, which is supplying to countries like Russia, so maybe Hezbollah took a shipment of drones, which the Israelis wanted to take out, but certainly the link between a new government and this attack on Damascus airport, there's sure to be a link, yes indeed.
Well, John, do you suspect that there will be more attacks such as this on Hezbollah positions in Syria?
Yeah, because there's no one who's going to stop the Israelis. The Americans are not going to. Israel, of course, Israel being America's biggest ally in the Middle East, and especially less than 2 years out from a general election in America. Who are the other big players in the Middle East? Well, Russia and Turkey. There are very good relations between the government in Israel and Ankara and Moscow. So neither Russia nor Turkey are going to stop Israeli attacks on Hezbollah positions. So to answer your question, yes, there will be further attacks if Hezbollah sees or shows signs of building up military equipment in Syria.
Now, John, I know the response to this question could be a PhD thesis, but I mean, let's do our best. What's the outlook for peace in the region in 2023?
There are always PhD questions on the rise, especially the morning show people. But Newsday is normally pretty good. Look, peace in that particular part of the region is very elusive at the moment. As I say, we've got this right-wing government in Israel, and already militant groups in Gaza and the West Bank and Jenin and Benin are also building up their forces for future clashes in the months and the years to come. Already, 2 Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank this morning from an Israeli raid. The first 2 deaths of 2023. Last year, 150 Palestinians died in conflict with Israelis, and 26 Israelis also died last year. So I'm afraid peace in the region, as always, is very elusive, and unless and until Israel withdraws to its boundaries so that it exceeded in the Six-Day War, then this conflict seems to be endless. And with peace efforts dead in the water, the 2-state solution that America and other nations were trying to find seems to be going absolutely nowhere at the moment, and no one with influence in the region are trying to get peace talks started again. So 2023 is not looking good for that specific part of the Middle East.
Well, in retrospect, John, we know that this is the second time in a year that the Damascus International Airport was put out of service. I'm just wondering what the economic implications have been as a result.
Yeah, that's a good question, because Syrians rely hugely on the airport to get in and out of the country. Syria hugely restricted right now by Western sanctions against the regime of Bashar al-Assad. So it is, in fact, a restriction on exports and imports, but it's only temporary. As I say, the airport's appears to be running normally. This morning, as often this happens, I remember sitting on a plane at Baghdad airport relatively recently, and the runway was bombed by militants, and the plane that I was on took off about an hour later as if nothing had happened. There is enormous resilience in the region, and a will to return to normality. So with this kind of Syrian enthusiasm for getting things back to normal, I think the blip caused today by the bombing of the airport will be only temporary.
All right. Well, Arise Chief Correspondent John Cookson, thank you so much for your insight on this topic, and of course for your insight on all topics. Thank you very much.